I'm getting remarried to a new bride. Thanks for everything up to now. Jack said this with a cheerful smile. Standing next to him, his mother-in-law also added with a full smile. You're getting a divorce and moving out. It seems like in Jack and his mother-in-law's minds, the decision to welcome his lover as his new wife was already a done deal. So, I'm being kicked to the curb. But honestly, I'm not bothered. I knew sooner or later this would happen. Jack is head over heels for his mistress, and his in-laws have fully accepted her. Of course, I haven't just been sitting quietly. I had a surprise prepared for when this moment came. So, Jack. Are you ready? My name is Samantha. I'm 35 years old. I married Jack when I was 27. Currently, we live together in an apartment. Let's have kids when we're a bit more financially stable. That's what he's been saying for years now. Before I knew it, both Jack and I have gotten older. I desperately want to have children now. And just as I was thinking this, it happened. I realized Jack was having an affair. Jack has always been bad at lying. I've got to work late today. That's become his recent go-to excuse. But it's obvious that he's lying if you look at the pay stubs. On his days off, he'd leave the house all by himself, looking eager. Could he be cheating? That's what I immediately thought. But somewhere in my heart, I still believed in him. I married Jack because I loved him so much. I thought he felt the same way. So, I decided to confront him. I hoped if I asked him to stop the affair, he'd agree. But then, why do you think I'm cheating? This happened over dinner. As we faced each other and I started to speak, Jack frowned. I quickly said, "You've been making excuses to leave the house recently, haven't you? Is that all you've got to suspect me?" Jack was furious. But at that moment, I felt relieved inside. Jack wasn't cheating after all. It was my doubt that made him angry. I thought to myself, how naive I was. It's that attitude of yours. What? I hate how suspicious you are, Samantha. That's probably why I was drawn to her. To her? My voice trembled. My heart was racing. Could he really be having an affair? I leaned forward on the table. Who is she? A junior at my workplace. She's honest and kind, nothing like you. Jack said, suddenly looking happy. Life would be so much better with her. A young girl wouldn't be interested in you, I said, trying to convince myself. Jack is already in his 40s. And not doing well financially. I used to be a model when I was young, Jack retorted. That's right. Jack had a brief stint as a model in his youth. He's told me this story many times. He's still tall and hasn't lost his figure. His features are handsome. He could pass for someone in their late 20s or early 30s. But at his company, his real age is known. As I was thinking, Jack declared, "How can I be with a wife who doubts me this much? It's divorce, divorce." He thrust a piece of paper at me. A divorce paper. Is this a joke? I'm serious. Goodbye, Samantha, he said, and walked out of the house. Would he stay at a friend's house, or? I held the divorce papers, feeling dejected. The next early morning, Jack returned. Maybe because of yesterday, he was trying to be quiet. He seemed to be there to grab his bag and clothes for work. Jack? What is it? He stammered, stepping back as if scared. To him, I handed a lunchbox. Jack looked at me, surprised. I made lunch. I realized I hadn't made it in a while. If you'd like, please eat it. Okay, I will. He said, though without a word of thanks, but he seemed pleased. I felt satisfied. Good. There's still a chance to make things right. The divorce papers from yesterday, maybe Jack wasn't serious after all. That's what I thought. But then, I was utterly shattered. Why? The lunch I made was thrown away, untouched, in the trash. I had lunch with a colleague, Jack said, sitting down. And what about dinner? How can you say that after throwing away the lunch I made? I couldn't stay calm. You could have eaten it later or at least not thrown it away. Well, Jack said with a wry smile. Your lunch is just lame. Lame. Yeah. It's so lame I can't bring it out in public. And then, Ashley. Who's Ashley? I shouted, even though I knew she was Jack's affair. She's a junior at work. She makes lunch for me every day. It's stylish, unlike yours. So you threw mine away. I couldn't look at it after seeing her lunch. Yours is just. Jack laughed mockingly. With a condescending look. I was certain now. It's unheard of for just a colleague to make lunch every day. There was no doubt left. Jack, too, seemed to have become defiant about it. He started openly mentioning another woman's name at home. I'm going back to my parents' house this weekend. Jack suddenly said. I was puzzled. Do we have something planned this weekend? Just leave it. Jack said, dismissing my opinion and ending the conversation. Then, on the weekend, I went to Jack's parents' house. There, I saw a woman I didn't recognize. This is Ashley. Nice to meet you. The woman, Ashley, said with a smile. She was as charming as Jack always praised. Just the type of person Jack would be attracted to. Why is she here? I confronted Jack with a perfectly valid question. He laughed and said, I'm introducing her to my parents. She's going to be the new wife. What? I was stunned. The new wife. While I'm still here? Like I said before. Jack continued with a face that showed no guilt. Samantha, you are too suspicious and lacks taste. You're just not right for me. What are you talking about? I was at a loss for words. What kind of person says such things? What kind of person can even think to utter those words? Ashley started speaking. Her head bowed in what seemed like apology, but then she dropped a bombshell. I'm pregnant. I'm finally going to be a father. Jack said, hugging Ashley with a happy smile. Unconsciously, I found myself stroking my own belly. I can have children, too, you know? Yeah. But if I'm going to have kids, I want them to be good-looking. That's why you're out of the running. How can you say that? All this time, I had believed in Jack's words, lived by them. But from the beginning, he never intended to have children with me. A child with Ashley would definitely be cute. Jack said proudly. Ashley looked at me with a troubled expression. Jack's mother, who had been watching, glanced at me with a sharp, scrutinizing gaze. You don't have any objections, do you? No. I could only nod. Jack spoke to me with a cold voice. Even though he was smiling. I wondered how he could sound so icy while smiling. I'm getting remarried to a new bride. Thanks for everything up to now. You're getting a divorce and moving out. Jack's mother stood next to him, also with a full smile. They planned to kick me out and welcome Ashley as the new wife. And I was being discarded. I sighed. Honestly, I had a hunch when Jack said we were going to his parents' house. I suspected it might come to this. More so, from the moment Jack started talking about Ashley at home, I knew. I knew our relationship would end soon. Now, that premonition had become reality. It can't be helped. I had made up my mind. After all, I had a surprise prepared for this day. Taking a deep breath, I said. What? I'm already divorced, and that woman. What? The room went silent. Jack, with a twisted face, retorted. That's a poor excuse for losing. Already divorced? You and me? Yes. After all, you gave me the divorce papers. I was surprised at how calm my voice sounded. Yes. I was composed now. I wouldn't be deceived by Jack's words or smiles anymore. That divorce paper had your signature. So, I signed my name too. Though, in truth, I had only submitted it after it was decided we were visiting his parents' house. I had resolved that it was over with Jack. Still, I hadn't expected him to bring Ashley to his parents.
So, you and I are already divorced.
What? Well, that's convenient. Right?
I thought the same, so I took care of it beforehand.
Jack seemed pleased with my foresight.
Nice preparation. Thanks, Samantha, for divorcing me. Now I can be with Ashley without any worries.
You're welcome. It might have been the first time Jack had ever thanked me. I felt a sense of emptiness. Until recently, I had loved this man. I really had no eye for people. But Jack was no better in that regard.
You can't remarry, you know.
What? Why not?
Because she's already married.
What? Jack was shocked by my words and looked at Ashley. In a desperate tone, he asked her. You're joking, right? Ashley, you were going to be with me.
I have no intention of being with you,
Ashley stated firmly. Both Jack's mother and Jack were stunned. Their eagerly anticipated plan had fallen apart.
Why? Because you were just a fling,
Ashley said with a troubled, yet sharp tone.
I did say I was pregnant, but I never said it was your child. You jumped to conclusions. I was wondering what to do.
After saying this, Ashley looked at me. Thank you.
It's good that you're a woman with your act together.
No, I responded with a wry smile. It was like a poorly written comedy. The woman Jack had deemed worthy was already married to another man. I wondered how Jack felt now. Well, I should be going now, I said. Wait, Ashley! Ashley! Jack tried desperately to call her back, but Ashley didn't look back. Jack's mother was so shocked that her dentures almost fell out. Jack was devastated for a moment, then turned his sharp gaze on me. What's this all about, Samantha?
I hired a detective to investigate. They found out she was married. By the way, about her husband.
Now it was my turn to be cheerful. I said it with a sense of triumph.
So, her husband is your boss.
What? Don't lie. Ashley and the director never even make eye contact at work. Jack protested, his voice desperate. It saddened me. He had never been this earnest for me.
They're just keeping it professional at work,
I retorted, dismissing Jack's claim. Jack was holding his head in his hands. Ashley is married to the director. What's going to happen to me if this gets out?
Don't worry,
I said with a meaningful smile. The more my heart ached, the more my face broke into a smile.
I've already talked to the director about everything.
What have you done? Jack was almost in tears. The embarrassment with Ashley was just the beginning. The real show was about to start. My son is the victim, his mother lamented. Deceived by that woman, and now betrayed by you. He might lose his job over this.
If that's the case, I was the one deceived by your son,
I said with a strange smile. My lips trembling slightly. I genuinely loved Jack.
I was happy to be married to him.
The ones who destroyed that happiness were Jack, Ashley, and myself. Then, it's over.
Jack chose someone else over me. I respect his decision.
I see. Jack's mother, facing my smile, slumped to the ground, overwhelmed. Huh? At that moment, Jack's phone rang. He checked the caller ID and went pale. Director Farley. How convenient, I said, urging him to answer the phone.
Better answer quickly before things get worse.
Who do you think is to blame for this?
Well,
I said matter-of-factly.
It's all your own doing. Being played and not even realizing it. Besides, didn't you notice that Ashley and the director have the same last name?
Ah. Jack's face turned even paler. He looked at me several times as if seeking help, but I did nothing. Tentatively, Jack answered the phone. Director Farley. You. What are you doing with my wife? The director's voice was so loud I could hear it from where I stood. She's pregnant. And you.
Ashley came on to me,
Jack retorted. But that was a mistake.
I see. Director, I'm sorry, I spoke ill of your wife. It's not what you think, Enough. Don't ever come to the company again. I don't want to see your face. Director.
Jack's apologies were in vain, the call ended. He slumped to the ground, just like his mother.
It's a lie. This can't be true.
I wish you had told me it was a lie. I found myself saying my true feelings out loud, unable to contain my emotions despite trying to remain calm.
Do you have any idea how I felt when I was sure you were cheating on me? I don't care about that.
Jack spat out dismissively.
It's your fault for being so unattractive and suspicious, yet letting yourself go. I was busy with all the housework because you never helped.
I shouted back.
I didn't have time to dress up or buy cosmetics. I prioritized our living expenses over my own needs. Do you understand that? It's your fault for being bad at managing your time.
Jack refused to accept any blame.
Stop blaming everything on me. You cook the same bland meals every day. How is that expensive? That's the cooking I learned from my mom. Don't talk badly about it.
I couldn't keep the smile on my face any longer. I was genuinely angry. Probably for the first time at him. I had always been afraid of being disliked by Jack and held back my true thoughts. But things were different now. We were nothing to each other anymore. I would say what I wanted to say.
You always talk big but leave the troublesome matters to me. Why don't you face reality for once? What did you say? Enough.
Jack's mother, who had managed to stand up, intervened, looking pained.
Both of you, just go home. I can't stand any more of this commotion. Mom, are you abandoning me too?
Jack cried out in anguish, but his mother ignored him. I left the house alone, catching a taxi. Jack and I parted ways without giving in to each other. Well, with a heavy heart, I called my mother and explained the situation. She sounded sad.
Jack turned out to be such a person. What will you do now?
I haven't decided yet. I replied truthfully, unable to hide my real feelings despite not wanting to worry her. I'll stay with you for now. After a few days, I'll find an apartment or something and move out.
There's no need for that.
My mother reassured me with concern.
You've done enough already. Just relax at home, okay?
Okay. I decided to take her advice. When I got home, my sister and her husband were there too.
Big sis, are you okay? You look awful.
I'm fine. I won't have to go through anything unpleasant anymore. I replied, forcing a smile. My sister had just given birth to her first daughter. Looking at the sleeping baby in her arms and her husband watching them, tears came to my eyes.
Sis.
Sorry. Really, it's nothing. I had parted ways with Jack. I wouldn't be troubled by him anymore. I was free. Yet, I couldn't stop the tears.
Samantha.
Yeah. I responded as my mother led me down the hallway.
Go to your room. It's been cleaned and ready for you. Thank you, Mom.
I replied, heading to my room. The room was just as clean and welcoming as my mother had said. It had been years since I last stayed here, but it felt as comfortable as if I had spent the previous day here. My mother must have kept it clean all this time. While feeling grateful, I lay down on the bed. For the next few days, I experienced peaceful moments. The peace was disturbed when I saw someone standing at the front door.
Samantha. You're there, come out.
What do you want? I asked, feeling exasperated as I faced Jack. In just a few days, Jack looked haggard. He had always relied on me for housework and clearly couldn't cook for himself. His disheveled appearance suggested he might have lost his job too. Yet, he still spoke in that sweet tone.
Samantha, can't we start over?
What? His tone used to charm me. But now it just made me shudder. To think I was deceived by such a man and lived with him. In that moment, I realized I had no feelings left for Jack.
Don't say things you don't mean,
I replied sternly. But Jack didn't give up.
I want to start over. The thing with Ashley changed me. I won't cheat again. Let's go to another town and begin anew.
Oh, really? I was incredulous. How could he so effortlessly say things he didn't mean? I saw right through Jack's intentions. He still saw me as a convenient housekeeper, nothing more. That's why he wanted me back. Nothing else. He didn't care about me at all. What happened to Ashley?
She got a real talking to from her husband. Turned out he's not even sure if the baby is his, so she got kicked out.
Oh, how fortunate for you, I said sarcastically. Now you can be with Ashley.
She was just using me. There's no way I can be with her,
Jack exclaimed, making himself out to be the victim. Even now, he was trying to use me.
She got what she deserved. And she'll probably just deceive another man. It's infuriating. I hope she doesn't find anyone else,
Jack said with evident hatred. It seemed that he had shifted all the blame onto Ashley. And because of this, he didn't see himself as at fault. He had the audacity to try to come back to me, showing no signs of learning from his mistakes. Sorry, but I made my intentions clear. I can't live with you anymore.
I've come to despise you from the bottom of my heart. Don't be so tough, Samantha. You still have feelings for me, don't you?
I was speechless at his self-conceited words. How could he still harbor the illusion that I had any lingering feelings for him? I'm serious. I really do hate you.
Samantha!
Jack stepped closer. And I shouted.
Mom! Call the police! What, Samantha?
I can't deal with you anymore. We're over. Understand? I heard my mother's footsteps approaching. Neighbors, alerted by my loud voice, started to appear, all glaring at Jack.
I'll come back.
Don't bother. After that, Jack didn't show up in person, but called incessantly.
I want to start over. Samantha, live with me again.
Are you joking?
I'm serious. I can't live without you.
He was right in a way. He never helped with household chores. During his single days, it seemed that his own mother took care of everything for him. By the way, I remembered something. Once, I went back to the apartment. Not for Jack, but to retrieve my belongings. There, I stumbled upon Jack and Ashley arguing. So, I've left my husband. I'll be with you now.
Don't joke. You were just kicked out.
In that manner, Jack and Ashley were causing a commotion. Ignoring them, I was about to leave, when Jack noticed me.
Samantha! You came back!
I stopped him. I'm just here for my things.
You came because you're worried about me, right?
Wow, how conceited can you be? Ashley muttered in disbelief. Jack turned to scold Ashley, then focused on me again.
Samantha, let's live together again. We'll remarry, and this time,
I'll call the police if you come closer. Jack faltered but quickly recovered.
Please, Samantha, forgive me. I'll help with chores and never look down on you again. No more cheating.
That's for sure. You were just being played.
What?
Jack's face twisted in anger.
Enough, Samantha. I'm going this far, and you're still ignoring me.
I'm not ignoring you. I'm just not interested. Ashley burst out laughing. To her, I said, Can you raise a child on your own? That's none of your business. Ashley replied, frowning. The charm and ease she had shown at Jack's parents' house were gone. Sure. I nod. Let me just say this. I couldn't have kids of my own. That's why I'm envious of you. Ashley says, putting her hands on her hips. Her eyes were challenging, sizing me up. But really, I was the one who should be doing the assessing.
That's why I'm worried about your baby. Leave me alone.
She retorts, clearly annoyed, and gently rubs her belly.
I'm gonna raise this child in my own way. Is that so?
I smile, relieved. Ashley might have trouble in her relationships, but she seemed prepared to be a mother, at least.
That's good to hear. You don't need to worry about me.
See ya, she says and briskly walks away. Meanwhile, Jack is yelling, "Don't ignore me.
Samantha,
Move aside.
I need to get my stuff. Samantha!
Jack tries to garner sympathy with a pitiful voice, but I snap at him.
Move. Whoa!
He says, frightened, and steps aside. I entered my former residence. There was no sense of nostalgia. Just familiarity with the layout. I easily navigated the rooms and collected my belongings. When I stepped outside, Jack was standing there, looking lost. I glanced at him and left the apartment. I decided to settle down at my parents' place. Being the eldest daughter, I knew I'd eventually have to return to take care of them. It made sense to get used to living there again. Now, I help with household chores and the garden. Sometimes, my sister and her husband visit with their daughter.
She's so cute,
I say, laughing, yet feeling a tinge of sadness inside. Not having children of my own was still a painful reality for me.
Hey, do you remember Steve, our childhood friend?
My mom asked one day. Speaking cautiously.
What happened to Steve? Well, he's still single. How about meeting him, just the two of you?
Mom, I say with a bitter smile. I appreciated her concern. But I was done with marriage.
Wouldn't it be a bother for someone like me to be with Steve? But you know.
Mom leans in.
Steve mentioned wanting to see you when he heard you were back.
Really? I responded in surprise. Steve was chubby since childhood and frankly, not very good-looking. But he was attentive and kind. He's now teaching at our old middle school.
I'm not sure.
I was ambivalent. I wanted to meet Steve. But the idea of it being a setup felt odd. A few days later, I found myself walking through a mall in the neighboring town with Steve.
I'll carry the bags. It's okay.
I reply, feeling a bit embarrassed and unintentionally being curt with Steve. But Steve, always gentle, accepts me as I am. Though he looks different from the person I remember. He's slimmed down. Taller, and has a more dependable presence.
Sorry, Samantha, for inviting you out so suddenly. About that.
I start as we take a break at a cafe. After ordering, I finally voice my question.
Why did you want to meet me? Well.
Steve hesitates for a moment. Then sets his face with determination.
When I heard you got married, I was shocked. That's when I realized I had always liked you. Steve.
An awkward silence falls between us. Unsettling but not unpleasant. It feels strangely nostalgic to be attracted to someone. After dating Steve for 6 months, we got married. Unlike my flashy wedding with Jack, Steve preferred a quiet ceremony with just close family and friends. I liked that idea too. Since my parents' home is nearby, I can visit them almost every day. Steve is a hard worker, beloved by his students.
So, one of my students.
That sounds tough. I reply, laughing together as we gather around the dinner table. Featuring vegetables from our garden. We stock up on meat and seasonings during weekend supermarket trips. Our new life's rhythm gradually falls into place.
Samantha.
What's up?
Have you thought about kids? Oh.
I pause, realizing. Steve loves children, and I still want them.
Yeah, I've thought about it.
That's good to hear. He says, smiling with relief. 1.5 years later, I finally have a child. I hoped the baby would look like Steve. But instead, they're a spitting image of my mother. Causing our entire family to burst into laughter.
Let's name her Kate. I like that.
Steve repeatedly calls out to our child, Kate, Kate. I hold Kate and walk through the garden. With Steve by my side. Gentle, kind Steve. I wonder why I didn't choose him in the first place.
Steve. What's up? Thank you for waiting for me. Samantha.
Steve's eyes moisten with emotion as he pulls me into a hug. In his arms, our daughter, Kate, giggles happily.
I'm sorry I didn't have the courage to speak up sooner. Because of that, you went through a lot of hardship. It was my lack of judgment.
After all, that's the truth. My most important person was right here beside me all along.